my smartness and making the moves I made that were impossible to make, I don't fucking talk about them before I make them. One time there was one guy got caught because he was on a television show. He said, yeah, and he was explaining how they're going to rob the fucking bank. Hmm? Guess what happened when he went to rob the bank? They were waiting for him. Because he had explained the holes that he had seen in their work. In the bank, the guy goes off this time, and I go there, and I'm just going to go to there. And then when he's there, he's surprised that
Well, so how did you do it?
I kept my mouth shut and did it.
It's interesting. I was reading an interview that you did in 1971 when you were on Broadway with Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death. You were talking about some of the obstacles that black filmmakers were encountering, and it doesn't seem like much has changed since then.
The message has changed, or the method?
Much has changed in terms of obstacles that we as African Americans face in this industry. Can you talk a little bit about how it was that you came to become one of the first African American directors in Hollywood?
Well, let's start with the inadequacy. I wasn't the first, but I made the first happen. You see, when I went to Hollywood, say 58, 59, with 3 short films I had made, and I got thrown down the steps practically. And then they said, well, then somebody came back and offered me a job as an elevator operator, or that didn't go, and then they offered me a job as a running at a dance class. So, no, that wasn't exactly what I had in mind. And so, in desperation for the future of my family, I had a wife and 2 children. I changed completely. Now, remember, this was already a double whack because all the other people with me in the Air Force, when they got out, they would get jobs with the airlines because I would fly these ultra difficult secret planes, and I was a navigator on a B-47, and everybody else got a job. But on the other hand, I was the only minority, and I discovered at that time that they didn't take minorities in the cockpits, any of the cockpits. So I ended up driving something else. I ended up driving a cable car. Okay, and then, however, I still had this idea about cinema, and so I made these little short films. And I took them down to Hollywood, and they told me it was nice amateur work, but also that I really didn't have a knack for that type of thing. So I had no one else to ask. And so I went to my second move. I was going to become an astronomer. And because Sputnik had just gone up, and I thought that was going to be the future, which turned out in one of the ways. It was a very good secondary. And because my name is Melvin Van Peebles, I was able to go to Holland to study there. Now, one of the things that the Dutch did not ask me was that I speak Dutch. They just assumed I was an old person with Dutch until I showed up. Oh, boy. Anyway, I was living in Holland getting my PhD in astronomy when one day there a letter arrived. And I opened it up, and it was just a postcard, and it says, "You're brilliant. We've seen your films. You've got to continue." Nobody ever said a nice word to me before about my film, and not a lot of nice words either, or anything else, except for my flying. And it was this Cinematheque of France, and they invited me to come to France, and I came to France. And they showed my films in a little place, and all the mucky mucks from the museum kissed me and told me I was a genius and left. And I stood there, no money, 3 cans of film, 2 wet cheeks, not a word of French. But I resolved to stay in France. Fine, okay, let's jump cut. Maybe 4 or 5 years later, what happened was I was at a party, and there was a well-dressed black guy there. He's the only other black guy there. And somebody says they'll do, "Oh, you must know each other." So he was an American. And he asked me what I did. And I said, "Well, I'm a reporter. And, but I'm also making a movie." "You make a movie, or what kind of documentary?" I said, "No, a regular movie." She said, "Oh, a short film, short story." She says, "No, I'm making a feature." She says, "You're making a feature film?" I said, "Yes, sir." I said, She says, "I haven't heard of it. You're doing it for Paramount or Columbia, or he named it." I said, "No, it's not. I'm doing it. It's a French film." She says, "You're making a French feature?" I says, "Yes." Excuse me. He walked away. Comes back. He says, "It's true. You're making a feature film?" "Yeah." I said, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm the curator for the San Francisco Film Festival. I'm here looking for films." He said to me, Are you finished with your film? Could you have it ready for the festival in 3 months in October?" I said, "Is the pig's ass pork? Is the Pope Catholic? Is cornbread crumbly? The bear shit in the woods? I will have it ready." And this guy went back and arranged that I was one of the French invitees to the San Francisco Film Festival. That's what happened.
Right, and people saw that film.
I won the festival.
You won the festival, and it led
Best
to Watermelon.
best movie. I'm sorry, sir?
It led to Watermelon Man.
I'm sorry?
It led to Watermelon Man.
Yes. And well, now, the next thing, of course, I got sent for from Hollywood, and they did this, and I had job offers. "What are you all doing over there with those frogs? Why aren't you here?" Etc., etc. I had those. What do you mean why I'm not here? Because last time I asked for a job, you threw me down the steps. What's up? Oh no, things have changed. I knew things were supposed to be changed because the driver who came to pick me up when I flew from San Francisco to L.A., which they had paid for, and invited me to come to talk to the various studios. The driver was a lady, a pretty lady, that had come to pick me up. And also, I noticed she didn't have any drawers on. So they weren't taking any chances. And she insisted on carrying my bag in front of me. Lord, Lord, Lord. So, okay.
So you got the job. I mean, were there other forces at
Oh,
work?
no, I didn't get the job.
Oh, no, okay.
Because if I had taken the job, I felt that no other African American would get a shot. So, this comes to what's happening this evening. But I had no money or anything else. And in fact, I take a collection of my friends to have enough money. I had $10 to last me at the festival. Except when I got to the festival, they put me up in a penthouse and all those kinds of things. But I wasn't taking any chances. And so I had this $10. And I lived on a park bench in a village.
In San Francisco.
I'm sorry, sir?
In San Francisco.
No. In New York.
Oh, in Greenwich Village.
I got back to, yes, Greenwich Village.
Oh, okay. So you went to Hollywood, you turned down the job.
Yeah, if I took the job, I felt no other blacks would get a shot. Because they would have, see, we're not president, yeah.
So it took Gordon Parks to open that door.
I'm sorry, sir?
So it took Gordon Parks to open that door.
So no, it took me to open the door that Gordon Parks got to walk through. They needed, and then they discovered another Negro. Ozzie Davis, and both of those two made films. So that had broken, that was the first step to break it. And they kept after me because I won a festival and I was much desired just for that reason. And a foreign festival made them look pretty bad.
Right. And then after Watermelon Man, you made Sweetback.
Oh. I did, but that's not how it happened.
Okay. All right. This is going to take longer than 10 minutes.
I'm sorry, sir?
This will take longer than 10 minutes, but I do want to hear your story. This is fascinating.
Well, you see, what happens is why I ask you, because what happens is you are obviously a very astute and hard-working person, but you don't know what went on. And they're shortening it. They left out all the parts.
Okay.
Left out all the parts. So Gordon Parks made a movie, and you talk about serendipity. When Ozzie made a movie, he made a movie based on a famous writer. And a writer who I had taken his novel and turned it into a comic strip in the biggest French paper of which I worked. And Ali Kitty, and I took Chester Hymes's one of Chester Hymes's stories. He won, and that was the story they used for his second. However, the next thing that, as I calculated things, these people weren't really in Hollywood. They were not allowed to shoot in Hollywood per se. Everybody was off into some boondock somewhere to shoot their movie. And I thought the next step to make was to shoot in Hollywood. And I kept getting offers, and I said, I would take it if I could shoot it in Hollywood. That was my next step for it. That's why I shot Watermelon Man in Hollywood. But I had to shoot in Hollywood. I said, okay. And then in Hollywood, I had a length of time to shoot the film, etc., etc. How long, you know a bit about film, how long a time would you give somebody to shoot a feature film?
Well, I know how long you had, but I mean, usually it takes 2 months to make a feature film, or 3 months. in
How many
Hollywood.
days was that?
90?
Yeah. I had 23. Because I was set up to lose or to have more. Well, we had to help him out. I shot in 21. So nobody suspected. And then when it worked, they didn't know what to do.
And in terms of advice, what advice do you have to offer to?
Well, analyze who you are, what you actually can do, and go for it. It hasn't changed any from Frederick Douglass. A slave ain't supposed to die a natural death. Keep on fighting.
Like that. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit so I have a little more to work with? I like that idea.
Fight.
Okay.
And fight doesn't always mean just with your fist. It means be smart.